Hi class, we're continuing with Chapter 9, and the last section in Chapter 9 is on banking procedures, and I'll let you read the book to learn about the different endorsements of a check and how to write a check and fill out a deposit slip. But one thing I wanted to demonstrate was how to reconcile your bank statement. This is very important, even in your life personally, to reconcile your bank statement with your checkbook register every month. But in a business, it's absolutely required if you're going to keep the books in a business. So what I thought I'd do is show you how to reconcile the checkbook register that you're keeping with the bank statement that comes from the bank. They routinely do not match up perfectly when you receive the checkbook or the bank statement in the mail. So what I've done is I made a little checkbook register, and I show the dates that I either wrote checks or recorded deposits, and these are the amounts and my running balance. I started the month with $6,500 in my checking account, and after writing checks and making deposits, I have $8,134 at the end of the month. Okay, then the bank statement comes. It's from First Texas National Bank, and even though the bank statement you get might look a little different than this one, they all have the same information. They have the checks that cleared the bank, they have the deposits that cleared the bank, the dates that the transactions occurred, and a running balance. So look here, and you'll see that at the end of the month, First Texas National Bank is showing that I have $7,323.50 in my account, which is a little different than what I'm showing in my checkbook. So it's very important to reconcile and make sure that the items that I wrote, checks I wrote, deposits I made, got recorded correctly at the bank and were on the same page. So what I do when I reconcile my checkbook is first take each item that came in the bank statement and look at my register. I usually put a check mark beside each item, but I couldn't find the symbol for check mark in Excel, so I'm just going to use a little X. So look here, on the first I wrote a check for $100, and I see here that a check cleared for $100. So I'm just going to put an X and an X. Okay, then the next one is I wrote another check for $10, and I see that here's a check for $10, so I'm going to put a little X by it and a little X by the item in my checkbook register. Then I had a deposit for $500, and if I look at the deposit column, I see that one cleared for $500. So I'm going to put an X and an X. Next, I wrote a check for $225, and I look over here to see if it cleared, and yes, it did. So I'm going to put an X by each of those items. Then I had a deposit for $410, and I look over here, and yes, it did in fact clear. So I'm going to put an X and an X. Next, I had a check for $200, and I see that it cleared right here. So I'm going to put a mark by each of those. I wrote a check for $75, and as I'm looking at my checks that cleared, I don't see that one. So I'm not going to put anything beside it. Next, I wrote a check for $60, and I see that it cleared the bank, so I'm going to mark those. I had a deposit for $730, and I see that it cleared the bank, so I'm going to mark those. I wrote a check for $16, and it doesn't look like that one cleared the bank. I wrote a check for $80, and it does look like that one cleared, so I'm going to mark both of those. Next, I had a check for $140, and I don't see that one. And then I had a deposit for $900, and in my deposit list I don't see that one. So It looks like my outstanding checks were $75 and $16. Actually, did the $16 one clear? Okay, I'm admitting something here. I forgot to type in the $16 check right here that cleared the bank. And this is an example right out of the book. So I am going to put an X beside each of those items. All right. Now, my outstanding checks amounted to the $75 check that I wrote, check 108. And the $140 check that I wrote, check 112. Those two did not clear the bank. I call those my outstanding checks. I've written them, I've recorded them in my checkbook, but they did not clear the bank yet. The other item that did not clear is my deposit of $900. I made the deposit in my check register, took the money to the bank, but it didn't get onto the bank statement. So, when I am ready to reconcile my accounts, what I do is I start with my bank statement balance. At the end of the month, the bank statement says I have $7,323.50. So I write that down. Okay. $7,323.50. That was what the bank said I had. Next, I add in any outstanding deposits. These are deposits I've made but didn't get on the check or the bank statement. So that would be $900. And then I subtract any outstanding checks. And usually you have a bigger list. I only have two, $140 and $75. So if I add those together, that equals $215. So I'm going to subtract $215. Those are my outstanding checks. And my answer down here, when I start with the bank statement balance, I add in my outstanding deposits, subtract my outstanding checks. That number is $8,008.50, and that's what I call my adjusted bank balance. Okay, the next thing I do is I start with the amount in my checkbook. And I'm going to put it right here. Okay, I start with what I have is my balance in the checkbook register. So here's my checkbook register, and I'm showing $8,134. $8,134 is what my balance is. The next thing I'm going to do is look over at my bank statement and look at the items that I've got marked off. Are there any items that the bank statement either, subtracted from my account or added to my account that I don't have recorded? And I would say there's two items right here. First of all, the bank charged me a $7.50 service charge for the month. And then I have a debit memorandum for $118. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but probably what happened was a deposit I made earlier. One of the checks that I deposited probably did not clear, and so they're putting that, or they're taking that money back out of my account. Somebody's check bounced. Or it could be I used my debit card. So either way, what I'm going to do is say minus the service charge of $7. Trying to put in a formula. Okay, minus the service charge of $7.50, and then the debit memorandum of $118. So when I take my balance in my check register minus the two items that the bank deducted, I will get $8,008.50. And as long as these two numbers balance, the adjusted bank balance and the adjusted checkbook balance, then I've reconciled my account and I'm ready to go with the next month. And that's it in a nutshell.